like this.
I can turn it up a
So
little.
we have just a few more minutes if everyone wants to go ahead and get comfortable and take a seat. We have a lot of, we have the whole front row is empty. And this isn't church. Although maybe we need to say a prayer before we start.
Trish, you want me to turn it up a little bit?
This whole thing, I'm being filmed and I don't look so good like this.
Comfy, get in your good space. Everybody have a little meditation time while we're getting settled. Did everyone take their happy pills?
Again, if you're just coming in, the whole front row is empty, Tom and Bob. Whole front row, empty. Waiting for you.
I know, seriously. Then you'll be the front row.
I went last night. Yeah. It was cold last night. Today was bad. I was nice. I already did.
Just so I make sure I don't have it up too high.
Okay, everyone want to get comfortable? And we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing we're going to do, after you've all said your little silent prayer, which hopefully you did on your own, is to stand and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance as we do with all of our town events. Gentlemen, if you're wearing a hat, if you would remove it. Or ladies. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Town Forum. My name is Trish Ellis, and I'm on the Executive Board of the Chamber of Commerce. I'll be your moderator for this evening, and I'd like to thank you all for coming. Special thank you to the Economic Development Association, Branding Committee, the Town Board, and all of you for responding to our invitation to come to this event. This event is sponsored by the Manchester Waters Chamber of Commerce. For months, the Chamber has been talking about, the EDA has been talking about, the Town Board, many organizations in town have been talking about communication in our town. How do we do it? How do we do it better? How do we make sure that people are finding things out, from anything from just the events going on to plans that are coming up. And so the Chamber in our board meetings decided that we would do some things to make that start happening on our front. And so one of the things that we've started is to try to put as many things on our website as we can. Also, we have started a monthly newsletter, and this is our third front to try to improve communication in our town. What makes it difficult for communication in town is that we have so many generations of people who communicate differently. Wasn't sure how to say that because, for instance, I'm sure that my mom, that wouldn't be true, but some people's moms communicate better electronically than I do. And some people, are very, don't communicate electronically at all. So it's very hard to disseminate a lot of information to all the different people in so many different ways. And so we really are trying to work together to improve communication, and it is everybody's responsibility. And the Chamber takes that very seriously. I'd like to introduce the Chamber members now, actually. Scott Burtz is here, and he's in the back, and he is our Chamber President. Eric Benke is our Chamber Vice President. I'm our Chamber Secretary. Michelle Lear, who couldn't be here tonight, I think her flight is landing as we speak. is the chamber treasurer. We also have Tom Hogan, who is here as well. And we have Owen Dahl, who is here. Judy Schmidt-Arnold. Just raise your hands. I know Jeannie Patricia is here. And we have Linda Long-Walliver, who I did not see here. She's probably at a hockey event. And have I gotten everybody? And then, of course, our chamber director, Dave Carafa, who is instrumental in helping us pull this all together. The purpose of the forum, this particular forum tonight, is about communication. There are a lot of changes happening in our town, and there's some really positive changes that we just think people need to know about. And some of them are scary to people when they don't know what they are. And there are lots of misinformation going on, there's lots of miscommunication going on, and there's lots of really great communication going on. But we thought it was really important for all the players, all the groups to come together in one place so that we all get the same information and we can move in a positive direction for our town. And that the communication can be open, direct, and transparent. Those are the three things that the chamber is really working on as far as our own communication goes. And we'd like to stress that we're all responsible for how we communicate, what we communicate, and with whom we communicate it, and what way we do that. What our respect, how respectful we are, whether we're, how we're listening when other people are communicating. And that means that even when we're in the grocery store on one end of the town or the other, what we're saying in the grocery store, how we're emailing all our correspondence, we're all responsible. And so as a town, hopefully we can start from here and move forward in a really positive way and make sure that we're coming together to communicate what's going on and spread that in a positive way to everybody. So let's get started. Among the positive things that are going on in town, and there's a group of people working really hard, the Economic Development Association. And I'm going to turn what we're going to do is have about 5 minutes for different groups to share what they're doing, and then we'll open it up for questions. But first, Eric Benke is going to share about the Economic Development Association.
My name is Eric Benke. I'm one of the town supervisors, and I'm the chairman of the Economic Development Association. When you came in, everybody picked up one of the paper pamphlets, and those are my notes, so you can follow along. In the spring of 2013, the Town Board, Chamber of Commerce, and the Planning Commission had multiple joint meetings to discuss the structure and importance of economic development. On May 7th, all three organizations finalized the structure of the committee, and MWEDA became an operating organization. Our mission statement is to maintain, enhance, and diversify the local economy by assisting in the success of existing businesses, in the recruitment of new businesses, and the promotion of tourism, industry, and the economic viability of Manitowish Waters and the townships and municipalities located in the area. Our meetings are held at 6 p.m. on the third Tuesday of every month here at the Town Hall. All these meetings are posted around town with an agenda, and they're all open to the public. Committee meetings are held on varying days and times between the regularly scheduled meetings. We have been using the Chamber's website calendar to publish these meeting dates and times. We have an economic development page on the Chamber website under community information. We post some of our news and our meetings on there as well. So who's involved? Any individual or entity residing in, employed in, conducting business in, or represented in the Manitowish Waters area. Pretty much anybody. Possessing an interest in the purpose of the organization and having the background, education, knowledge, skill, understanding thereof. They may, upon application to the steering committee, become a member of the organization. As of date, we have 24 current members, myself, Barbara McFarland, Brent McFarland, Chuck Kramer, Dwayne Swift, Joe Major, John McFarland, Karen Dixon, Mary Perkins, Stephen Bartling, Ty Ryala, Rita Major, Dave Carafa, Barry McLean, Carrie Miller, Chuck Ryala, Debbie Johns, John Hanson, John McGraw, Linda Long-Walliver, Courtney Baseman, Sarah Johnson, Tom Joseph, and Kevin Griffin. So a little bit about our committees. We have, the first committee is the steering committee. This is responsible for overseeing the direction and the governance of the EDA. I am the chairman. The secretary is Dave Carafa, and the other two members are Stephen Bartling and John Hanson. The Education and Recreation Committee, their objective is to create a community plan by identifying and evaluating the opportunities for developing Natchitoches Waters into an education and recreation destination, drawing more people to visit and to stay longer. Our committee members are Sarah Johnson, Karen Dixon, and myself. Technology and Business Committee. The goal is to identify businesses and industries that are a good fit for our area and pursue them. In addition, perform necessary planning to accommodate such businesses or industries. Our committee members are Stephen Bartlett, Dave Carafa, Tyrell Rayala, Gary Miller, Brent McFarland, Barry McLean, John McGraw, and John Hanson. Public Relations and Communications. Objective is to communicate the activities of the MWEDA to the Natchitoches Waters community and to any interested and relevant parties and partners. Committee members are Linda Wallaber, Stephen Bartley, Courtney Baseman, Karen Dixon, Debbie Johns, Rita Mazer, Gary Miller, and Dave Carafa. Strategic Planning. Objective is the formulation of the physical master plan that integrates feedback from the rest of our committees with the physical appearance of the community by networking and forming alliances with individuals and entities. Committee members, Stephen Bartley, John Hanson, Linda Long-Wallaber, Chuck Kramer, and Debbie Johns. The Arts Committee. Their objective is to introduce a creative aspect to the town projects which would qualify for grants when aligned with a nonprofit organization such as the North Lakeland Discovery Center. Committee members, Chairman is Barbara McFarland, Brent McFarland, John McFarland, Francis Whitfield, Sarah Johnson, Dave Carafa, and Carrie Miller. Tourism and Branding. Develop a brand to bring our town together, enable us to work together, and pull us through economic downturns. The Branding Committee is currently functioning as a formal committee established by the town board and will be reported on after I finish this report. So some of the highlights of what we've been doing. The steering committee completed all the bylaws and we're growing our membership, which we're very proud of. Education and Recreation, developing a recreation asset inventory, pursuing plans to bring a speaker to the area on economic impacts of silent sports and multi-recreational pursuits. Pursuing the opportunity and recommendation to the town to accept the UW Extension Service for the development of a trails/recreation strategic plan, and we have the school representatives also attending our meetings. Technology and Business, pursuing plans to build a video station to improve communication at the town hall. This will allow us to broadcast events such as town board meetings to any interested party via the internet, and will serve as two-way communication center to be used anyone remotely. Public Relation and Communication. Worked with the Chamber to develop a website and calendar that includes dates of all MWEDA meetings. Is looking to expand this calendar to include all town organizational meetings. To be your one-stop shop for anything going on in the town. Strategic Planning. Currently I've been in discussion with Judy L. Peterson about her property in the downtown area and its possibilities. We've also started discussion and planning for future needs of the town hall, library, and fire company. The Arts Committee, they are pursuing a $300,000 National Endowment for the Arts grant submitted by the Discovery Center and the town, expecting notification of that in June of this year. And the Trails of Discovery project involves cultural planning to develop plans for public art, interpretive installations, along with educational outreach at 4 locations: the Bike Trail, Powell Marsh, Discovery Center, and the Windman Trails. So please consider joining us. Economic development is a whole town endeavor, and we are always excited to welcome new members and to learn from you and your background, experiences, and vision. Or spread the word. There are a lot of positive activities happening already, and we look forward to many more. All are welcome to join our committee, attend our meetings, submit your name as an MWEDA member, or contact any of the people I mentioned here tonight and share your ideas with them. Thank you. From the Branding Committee, we have Carrie Miller, who will give you an update.
Wow, they told me just a few people would be here. Thank you, Trish and the Chamber, for putting this on. I think it's a great way for us to get here and give us a great opportunity to tell you what's going on with this. Please don't confuse my excitement with nervousness. The Roger Brooks International was hired by the town to help form a group to assist in providing direction for the town to increase our economy. This group was labeled the Branding Committee. Those 13 diverse members from all walks of life are Barb McFarland, Brent McFarland, Eric Banky, Stephen Bartling, Dave Carafa, Janelle Welch, Debbie Johns, Rita Mazer, Jim Reichert, Chuck Kramer, Linda Walliver, Paul Kovitson, and myself. When we first got together, I feel we all had our own ideas of what we thought Manitowoc Waters should have as a brand. There was always something in the back of your mind that was like, yeah, that's what it is, that's what we do awesome. Little did we know that how actually difficult it was to come up with an idea that would be for everyone and that we thought was best. We had received over 600 surveys from the community. That is an incredible amount of responses. Most surveys don't get that kind of feedback, so it's something that the town was very passionate about. That being said, we had an incredible amount of information to sift through. So that means that we started off with 30 to 35 ideas, taking all those surveys, feedback that we had received from everyone, and ended up narrowing it down to 13, which are kind of like, that seems like a lot. To us, we were like, ooh, that was a good day. We then put these through the feasibility test, and with the feasibility test, it's a test that Roger Brooks developed that has a bunch of questions that you kind of go through and see if your brand fits in there. This is the point that I think we struggled at the most, because being members of the town of Manitowoc Waters, we all feel very passionately about it. And so to us, we're like, yeah, you're gonna drive 4 hours to come see us for that. We think everything we have is great. And this was the point where it's asking ourselves, but why? You know, what is it about our chain of lakes that's so phenomenal? Why would people drive 4 hours to come here? And so we really kind of had to shift gears and kind of go through that. And it was really hard to do. I think the best approach we took was, let's start out and see what we don't want to be. We didn't want to be Minocqua. We already have Minocqua, it's great, it's fantastic, it's not for us. That's not what we want to do. And we knew that we wanted to keep the resources in our town for us. We wanted to still be able to enjoy them as residents here. And so what that developed into was coming up with narrowing our focus to bringing people the sizes of 10 to 50 people into our town for 2 to 4 days. It's not a huge influx of people, but it's enough to help increase or create jobs and hopefully up the enrollment of the school. To bring these people in, we would like to offer education, learning, and experience activities. So we broke it down into 4 pillars that we would focus on: recreational, recreational, environmental, the arts, and life skills. So recreational, such as learning to kayak or cross-country skiing. Environmental, learning about the different birds that we have in the area, about aquatic invasive species. The arts, learning pottery or photography. Life skills would be EMS, fireman continuing education, licensing for professionals. For instance, you might have 10 people that come into town and want to learn how to fly fish. And then you have 20 people that want to learn how to do watercolor or paint, and then another 20 people that want to learn how to harvest maple syrup. That together brings 50 people, so it doesn't have to be a whole of 50 people, but around that number is what we'd really like to see. It's not overwhelming, but I think it's enough to help our business. In March, we'll be working with Roger to finalize the marketing materials with a look and feel of the brand, and then at that time, there will be another presentation to the town of a final brand. So thank you.
Before I turn the mic over to John Hanson, who's going to speak for the town board, one of the points on the flyer was to have your voice heard. And what I wanted to add to the EDA and to the branding committee was that your voice has already been heard by them. And just as a reminder, those surveys went out first through the branding committee, through all the taxpayers, all the citizens, and the Wisconsin Department of Tourism through Sarah Fisher did a survey as well. We're one of 3 counties that the state chose to do this huge survey, and the EDA would be able to explain it better. But they chose our county as just one of 3 in the whole state, and that produced a huge amount of information. And the EDA is working from that information from assets, liabilities to, I don't know everything on that, but it was a great deal of information about our area that the EDA is using to make a lot of their decisions for the next steps. The EDA has hosted 3 socials so far, and when they finish with this phase of what they're doing, they will be hosting another social this spring to share with you what they've come up with. So there is communication going on, but sometimes we just don't hear about it, we don't know about it. So I wanted to make sure that you know that 3 socials have happened, and there will be another one coming up. So you'll want to keep your eyes and ears open for that. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to John Hanson, who's going to share what is happening with the town board.
Thank you, Trish, and thank you, Chamber, for putting the forum on. Usually when we get a crowd like this, we're either playing bingo or serving food. Appreciate all of you coming out tonight, especially with the weather like it is, cold. My presentation is going to be a little bit more nuts and bolts about what's going on with the town, with our facilities, and some initial planning that we maybe started doing a little bit of. So, first of all, I want to talk about things that are going to be going on this year with the town. We are going to be putting an addition onto the town garage. We've got more equipment than we've got space for in the town garage. So one of the questions was asked is how are we going to pay for this? And we put money in the budget for road programs, and we're going to use some of that money because we won't be doing as many road programs this year as we had anticipated. So that will be happening come spring. They'll be starting on that. At the airport, one of the things I think you have to realize is that there's 2 ways to get to Manitowish waters. Highway 51 and the airport. And it so happens that right now it's probably a smoother ride going to the airport than it is up Highway 51. So there are quite a few things going on out there. One of them is we're looking at a parcel of land that's adjacent to our current airport property to purchase. And that project is being handled by the state. And the way it works, they go through all the, what needs to be done. They hire an engineering firm to come and do environmental assessment and archaeological assessment on the property. And it's a parcel of about 19 acres, and it's adjacent to Pelkala Road, and that's the road that goes off Powell Road. So when that all gets done and if the deal gets put together, the state and federal funding pays for 95% of it, and we pay for 5% of it. And that's true with nearly all of the projects that we've got going on right now. Another project that we're working on at the airport is we're going through updating our airport layout plan. And one of the things we have to do that's required by the FAA and the Bureau is to do some tree clearing. So when we get started on that, and hopefully that'll happen sometime this year, and you see a bunch of trees coming down at the airport, it's not necessarily by our choice, but it's required by the FAA and the Bureau of Aeronautics. And that will involve the areas along the sides of the runway, the sod runway, on the other side of the sod runway, and then on the paved runway on both sides as you head out toward Marathon Road. So most of it won't be very visible as you drive by on the highway. We do have some easement agreements with some of the property owners off the end of the runways, and we will be doing some tree removal or tree topping there, which again is required by the FAA. That cost again is covered 95% by the state and federal funding. We have a tractor out there, and I'm sure you've seen it. It's the blue New Holland tractor. It's a very serviceable unit, and we've gotten a lot of use out of it. But every 10 years, we're allowed to replace snow removal equipment, so this is the year that that'll happen. And again, that'll be funded 95% by the state. The best part of that is we keep the old tractor and we can sell it and make some money off of that. One other thing that we will be beginning to do some initial work on this year is the paved runway is getting to near the end of its useful life. And within the probably next 2 to 3 to 4 years, we will be rebuilding that runway, tearing out the old runway and rebuilding that runway. So that's a project that will be started, that will happen in the future. Again, 95% funded by state and federal funding, and that'll probably be, could be as much as $1.5 million project. So we have been accumulating some money over the years and putting into reserve to cover our share of that cost. Next, I'd like to talk about the complex here, the town hall, the library, and the fire department. We've had, at the board level, we've had some discussion, and then I think, if you remember, a couple of years ago, there were some proposals made for remodeling this building, and those were presented. I think Jerry Wilkie was behind that and got those plans or sketches drawn, and I know he presented them in several different occasions. I think one of them was at the Alliance meeting that was held, and then there were several other places that he presented those. The idea is that this building is now 50-some years old, and it's been an extremely serviceable building, as you can see from this room alone, and the kitchen facilities and everything. It gets a lot of use, but the exterior appearance of it is getting a little bit dated, and we may want to consider doing something with that. And then also, the office complex has gotten pretty tight. The chamber has their offices in there, and the town has its offices in there, so we're looking at the possibility of converting that office space into the chamber's office, and that was one of the things that was proposed in what Jerry presented. These are all ideas. There have been no decisions made on them, and I want to stress that, but they're ideas that we're looking at, and we'd be more than happy to get input on these as we move forward. And there's no particular time frame on them, and we haven't discussed funding or cost or anything like that, but they're just concepts that we're looking at because of the potential of maybe getting something done. The library, again, very serviceable building. The major problem the library has is parking. So we're looking at what can we do to increase the parking over there. It's pretty well locked right now between the town hall and the fire department. So an option, maybe to build a new fire hall. They're getting a little bit tight in there because of all the equipment they've got over there. And by the way, if you haven't seen the new fire engine, it's been out a lot on display when they had music in the park and everything. Make an effort to go see that fire engine. That thing was on display, I think, in several areas of the state for fire events, just because it's such a unique piece of equipment. And the fact that it's all paid for is very unusual, because I think you'll find that most of the towns like ours that have fire equipment like we have are in debt to pay for that fire equipment. So congratulate the fire department on doing an outstanding job of fundraising and getting the equipment they have over there. You, the taxpayers, have helped to support it with annual appropriations, so you've been part of it too. And you can be very proud of that. So if for example, one of the things we talked about, and again, this is just nothing concrete, would be to build a new fire hall, so they'd have adequate facilities there, and maybe converting that fire hall into town offices. That's an option. So that's something that we're talking about here. There is a parcel of land next to the fire hall that goes out to the airport property. I think it's about 7 acres, and that potentially might be considered to be purchased by the town to give us more room here. So those are some of the things we're talking about as far as this facility goes. Next, I address Kohler Park. As you've seen over there, there are new bathroom facilities going in. And I think you are well aware of the fact that that park, the music in the park program over there has really gotten to be quite a program. It's well recognized in the area. We have people coming from other towns to our town on Sundays for music in the park, and I'm sure you've seen all the boats over there. So that bathroom facility over there, which is donated, is going to be a big plus for that park. We think there's potential to use that park a lot more than it is being used right now. So there has been some discussion, and one of the concepts that Jerry Wilkie presented when he made his presentation on remodeling the town hall was to put a small pavilion in over there. The idea of these kind of facilities is to have a gathering place for people to come and use a facility. And when you look at our total park system in the town of Manitowoc Waters, we've got 4 parks here now. We've got the Rest Lake Park, which we've got title to, and I'll get into that a little later on. We've got Kohler Park. We've got the park right here, the ball field and the playground. And that playground was pretty much all put together with donated funds. And then we entered into a lease agreement with DNR to manage the Star Lake Beach Park. And we've been able to upgrade that. And I think that's a pretty neat facility. It was getting to the point where it was pretty well run down, and the DNR just didn't have the funding or whatever to take care of it. They were very glad to enter into a lease agreement with us, and they're very happy with the way we manage the park. West Lake Park, last summer we had a special town meeting to approve doing a land exchange. We had 160 acres of backland up on Highway K, and it went between Highway K and West Fawn Lake Road. And we made a deal with the DNR to trade that land for the Rest Lake Park. When the numbers initially came out, the valuations that were put on Rest Lake Park was about $800,000, just a little under $800,000, and that's about just under 11 acres with 600 feet of frontage. And the value of the 280s that we exchanged was about $385,000. We were able to make an even exchange because the state put deed restrictions on Rest Lake Park. It has to remain open to the public in perpetuity, and we can't subdivide it. If that happens, it goes back to the state, so I can't see any way that'll happen. So we have the facilities over there that get quite a bit of use. The ski club uses it for the ski shows. We have a boat landing over there, and we have a pavilion over there. I'm sure you've all seen the sketches of a proposed pavilion that would be constructed at Rest Lake Park, and that would be donated to the town. And I think everybody I've talked to that's looked at the sketches that are here in the town hall has been very positive about that pavilion. I think I'm perfectly willing to have another meeting. In fact, when the sketches were first put in here and people started looking at it, the first question was, will we have any input into what's going on over there? And absolutely. So the town board is planning on having a meeting, hopefully before the end of this month, if not early in March, for you to have an opportunity to come and discuss the plans that are proposed there. And I would like to have us get more information together as to what maintenance costs would be and upkeep and all that kind of thing. So we have some idea of what the financial impact will be of a facility like that over the long term, and whether it would be financed with donations or tax funds or whatever. So again, we'll plan on having a meeting specifically for that facility. One other thing we're looking at over there, well, just to mention, the other building that's shown over there, the year-round building, that's into the future, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time discussing it right now because it is into the future, and that may change. That may not even be the location for a building like that, and so that's down the road a ways. The other thing we're looking at doing over there is moving the boat landing. I think anybody that uses that boat landing will agree that it's difficult to use because you have a long backup to get down to the water with your boat, and it is really right in the way of the ski shows when the ski shows are going on, or even when the kids are practicing for the ski shows. So we're looking at the possibility of moving it further to the south of that parcel. And again, I think when we have the meeting on the pavilion, we'll have further information on that, and maybe be able to give you some sketches as to what's going to happen. The bike trail, the last segment of the bike trail from the school to connect with the Boulder Junction bike trail system is going to happen this spring. I understand there's a 120-foot bridge sitting up there that they gotta figure out how to get across Rice Creek. But anyway, that's gonna happen, and that's gonna be huge. I think anybody that has seen the use of that bike trail from Discovery Center to the school, which is the new link that was done last year, will agree that that thing has gotten a tremendous amount of use and a lot of positive response. I have to compliment the Bike Trail Committee for the work they've done on that. It's been fantastic, and when you look at how quickly these bike trails have been put in, and they've been done with private funding, and compare that with Boulder Junction, and Denny McCann Denny is here from, not McCann, the other one, from Boulder Junction, and the battle they went through with their grant funding to get that bike trail in. It took them like 6 years. So I think we're very fortunate to have the bike trail done the way it's been done and the speed with which it's been done. The next link that will be happening probably next year, and this again is with grant funding that was granted to the town of Mercer, I think in 2010, will be they plan on bringing a trail from Mercer down to our town line, and then we will link that trail into our trail system here. So we're gonna have a network of bike trails that's gonna be one of the premier ones in the state of Wisconsin. A couple other areas I just wanna touch on, and these are ongoing areas that are critically important for the town of Manitowish Waters, particularly this one. That's the Rest Lake Dam. If you remember, there were supposed to be some hearings last summer and a final draft order issued for the new operation of Rest Lake Dam. And because of the Supreme Court decision on another case in Wisconsin, the DNR had to back up and they had to start looking at the economic impact that any change in the operation of the dam will have. They have to look at it. It doesn't mean they have to pay any attention to it, but they have to look at it. So as I understand right now, they will be back this summer with a draft operating order for the dam. I'd like to say I'm optimistic that they'll issue an order that we can live with. I kind of doubt it. I think we're gonna be in for a long haul on this one, so I hope you are all stay aware of this and stay on top of it. The Defense Fund does have a website, and when we get new information, we will post information on that website. It's been very quiet for the last 6 months, which really scares me. The other issue that I want to touch on briefly is, you remember I mentioned earlier that if you wanted to get to Manitowish Waters, there was 2 ways, and that the airport might be the smoother way. We've been arguing with the DOT on their proposed reconstruction or resurfacing of Highway 51 from Highway H, which is starting out in Boulder Junction and going here to Highway W. So I've disagreed with the plan they have proposed. I think it's a glorified patch job. Haven't gotten anywhere with that yet, but they were planning on doing it after Labor Day this year. And with the condition it's in, I wrote them a letter and asked them to please start on it as soon as they can this spring. So I got a letter back from the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Transportation saying that they'll do the job the way they want to do it, and they think it's fine. And they are going to start it in early July. Now, picture this. They got to redo the approaches to the bridge. So one lane of the bridge will be closed while they tear up the cement, pour new cement, and then the other lane will be controlled by stoplights. So it'll be a single lane of traffic going through there in July. So anybody wants to make any noise about this, contact your legislators. If you want information, contact information, contact me. In fact, we'll maybe get it up on the website so people can see it. Because this is about as ridiculous a thing as I've ever heard, but that's the DOT. Last item I want to touch on is that on February 21st, that's a Friday, here, there will be an informational meeting by the Post Office Department, and they're proposing cutting back the hours on our post office operation over here. So if you're interested in that, I'd urge you to come out for that and listen to what they have to say. They give us 4 options. if I remember. And I think a lot of you probably received the notice already on this in the mail. 4 options are cut the hours. The other 3 options are close the post office. So I think it's important for people to come and listen to that and have a say about it. That's all I have for prepared remarks right now.
Okay, I do want to make sure that you have been introduced to all of the town board members. Eric Benke is a town board member, John Hanson, and is Henry Bauer still here? Henry is here, so all 3 town board members are here tonight. And we are going to open it up for questions. I'm gonna put this here. Is this one? I'm going to move this mic back here, and you're welcome to come up to the mic, no more than 5 people in a row, please, and ask a question. Once your question is asked, then I would invite you to comfortably have a seat again. And in the spirit of communication, I would just remind us, that we're all working on communicating positively and respectfully. So please have your questions framed in that way, or I can help us to frame them. Also, just a couple things that I want to be proactive on addressing. There will be questions that people want to ask about private land purchases in town. The town board has no say over who privately purchased land in town. I'm just going to tell you that right off the bat. I know that we'd like to address that, you'd like them to address that, but the town board, the chamber, the EDA, the branding committee, the owner of the hardware store, your neighbor, we can't control who purchases land in town. What we can talk about is our decisions that, what the town board can talk about are decisions that they're making, how they make those decisions, and I'm sure that they're happy to do that. So if anyone has any questions, I would invite you to come up and hopefully we've turned that mic on well, or I can share this mic with you. So does anyone have a question you'd like to pose to the town board? Okay, let's get this party started.
I just had a simple question. You mentioned that the road program will be reduced, and I was wondering what you meant by that. Do you mean paving, or what do you mean?
Yeah, the paving. We don't have a lot of roads left that are in bad shape. We've gotten, I think about 30 miles of roads reconstructed in the last 12, 13 years. So it's going to be an ongoing process, but we put $175,000 in the budget this year for road paving, and we're going to use about 75,000 of that for the addition to the garage.
Okay.
And then there will still be $100,000 there, so we'll probably do some projects.
Okay.
I'll just add one more thing. One of the major pieces of road we've got left to do is about 1.5 miles of power road from the end of where we did do it to our town line. And we're trying to get some grant money from the DNR to help us pay for that. So we tried this year and they said no money available, so next year we may have money available, and that would pay for half of that paving project.
Okay. And then one last question regarding the tree cutting at the airport. It seems like every few years the FAA requires more tree cutting. Do they change their rules every so often, or why does it keep changing?
Not really. Some of the tree cutting most of the tree cutting that's on the airport property that's going to be done should have been done quite a while ago, and it wasn't. But as we're going through this updated ALP, then that's the time we got to get it done.
Okay, thanks.
Another question? Are we all just warming up? Maybe we answered all your questions. You can all go to your favorite establishment and enjoy a very safe evening. Any other questions?
Let me just make a couple more comments. We got a list of written questions in regard to Rest Lake Park. So I'll review some of these. Has the new Rest Lake Park Pavilion been approved by the town board? No. that's why we would like to have an informational meeting on it, to get some more input on it. Who created the architectural drawings? The architect that did the projects for the buildings down in Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin that house Uline home offices and their 1 million square foot facility down there. Who's providing the funding for this pavilion? Again, that'd be donated, and the maintenance is something that we would like to discuss.
Who is that?
Was the structure in the town plan and budget for 2014? No, because it's gonna be donated, so we didn't put anything in the budget. I think those are the ones that I wanted to, oh, another one, there's been discussion about the overhead power lines along Highway W in downtown Manitowish Waters. Last fall, the town board and representatives from Xcel Energy and Mrs. Uline had a meeting on the possibility of burying the power lines downtown. It's not gonna happen. It's not feasible. It'd be such a major project that it would just tear the downtown apart for too long, so that's not gonna happen. Any other questions? Comments?
I've noticed that gates have been put up at the entrance of the ski trail on Papoose Lake Road. I was wondering why they were put there and if they're gonna be closed for periods of time where we will not have access to those trails either for skiing or for hiking.
Henry, can you answer that?
No, I have no idea. That's actually in Winchester. I don't know.
Are you talking about the Windman trails or which trails?
No, these are the ski trails on Papoose Lake Road,
Yeah, there are 2 sets now. Do you mean by the school?
on Papoose Lake Road. Yeah.
Where they're putting the new buildings up there.
Okay, that's over by the school. So, Sarah, do you know anything about that?
Well, I think it's,
I believe if you're talking about where there's a new chalet being built there, that I think those gates are temporarily up until that chalet is completed. So currently, the access to those trails is through the school and not through the Papoose Lake parking lot. I believe that
That's very temporary.
okay.
And just as a point of reference, there are now 2 trails on Papoose Lake Road, and there's another trailhead on the other end of Papoose Lake Road, and that's one of the trailheads to the Windman Trails. So you may want to check those out, because those are fabulous trails as well.
Do you have a question, Scott?
Yes, I do. Just curious about the town board's process for these donations that you keep talking about. Is there a process that you evaluate them? At what point do we say too much is, of our budget is these donations and it's not what we have funded, as well as, how much of this is the town's plan and how much of this is someone else's plan? I mean, these were architectural drawings done by someone else proposed to the town. There's a lot of things that sounds like a lot of other people are bringing to the town, and what is actually the town's plan?
I'm gonna have to call you back here to this, because you posed a multiple question, and I'm not sure I can handle it at once. Okay, specifically in regard, well, let's start out with Kohler Park, with the bathroom facilities down there. The town did approve putting that facility on the Kohler Park property. And that was an action that was taken by the town board. In that particular case, obviously we didn't hold a public hearing on it. I don't know if it would have deserved a public hearing or not. I think this coming summer, when people have the ability to use that bathroom compared to the porta potties, that should answer that question.
What determines whether there's a public meeting about something?
was something that was gonna be, anything that was gonna be funded by the taxpayers, then that would require a public meeting.
So basically donations, the town board can do what they want.
The town board could do what they want with the donations, yeah. But, as I said earlier, as far as the Rest Lake Park project goes, we do plan on having a meeting on that for people to come and have input on it. Did that answer your question, or is there more to it?
No, I think that really kind of answered the question, that if
Okay.
the town is taking donations, they can do what they want, there's no process for donations, you can just agree or disagree.
The town board can make their own
That
decisions.
we can make a decision on the donations, yeah. Mhm. And I think, you know, obviously, we've gotten a lot of donations, and if, I'd be more than willing to discuss that with anybody, and, in regard to whatever we've gotten donated. Another thing that was donated was the signs. The concept of the design for the signs and the placement of the signs was approved by the town board, and the signs are all donated.